All right, this is gonna be a basic pumpkin. So it starts with one gather. We're rolling in white. When you roll in white, it makes the color that you gather on next really pop and stand out. So it's like a white backing. So a double roll in white. Reheat, melt it all down, and we're gonna marver most of the glass off the pipe because the glass, after you gather and get that color, kind of gathers up onto the pipe. So marvering, next we're gonna get it hot and go for a starter bubble. Your starter bubble doesn't have to be that big. It just, you want to make sure it's there. And if you have so much color on there and you can't see through it, you just look for the expansion of the sides. You'll see it starting to expand, and then you can stop blowing, let it cool off, and then you're ready to gather again. This is your second gather. We're gonna go for our color. This case, it could be any color. This case, it's gonna be it's orange. So when you're getting this color with a fresh gather, you just gotta be careful. You don't want to press too hard. You want to support the weight, and you just kind of tap and turn, tap and turn. Reheat. We'll probably roll in color one more time. This is a transparent color, so that white backing is really going to make it stand out. So we'll melt that color in. Next step, we're going to marver the glass off the pipe again and just generally cool it down and try to get the texture of the frit down and melted and homogenized. Next, we'll get it hot. Try to support the weight when you're marvering. You don't want to crush your starter bubble. So we'll get it hot, and the next step, we'll go for a block. When you're blocking, kind of put pressure up, like towards the ceiling. All right, don't go left or right with your block, just kind of pressure up. The fast turns make this really even, and your block is going to homogenize all the heat. So it's cooling that outside and then letting that inside gather, catch up. We're going to add some air. So after this heat, we have air. We made sure our starter bowl's a little bit bigger. We're going to go to the marvering table, and we're going to shape it to go inside the optic mold. So the optic mold is conical in shape, so that's what we're going to go for. So the closer it is to the conical shape, the easier it is for that glass to take on the ridges. So you got to get pretty hot when you go in the optic mold. You want to blow, and then you kind of cap and then compress it down slightly. It forces the glasses into the ridge. So we're marvering the back end, the moil, pushes the ridges a little bit off the pipe. Getting it hot, cooling off the bottom. Ideally, you have a mold that has the optic mold all the way to the bottom. This one doesn't, so it kind of flattens out on the bottom, and it makes it a little bit harder to blow out. So you use the back of the jacks to cool it off. You're going for the jack line, and you're expanding, so you're blowing at the same time. So you have someone else blow, or you have a blow hose. Jack line, and then you kind of pull against the moil. You pull the pumpkin out away from the moil, and that gives you that kind of round squatty shape, and keep going back and cooling off that bottom with the back of your jacks. The next move is pretty important. It's the paddle, and we're just pushing it, and that gives us that indent that looks like a pumpkin on top. So that's just after you gotta make sure it's cool enough, because if it's too hot, you push with the paddle and it's just gonna stick back onto the moil, and that's not ideal either. So you want to, that's again why you want to pull that neck out, so you have it a little bit thinner. Now we're gonna start the stem. Okay, the stem is just gonna be green. Maybe 2 gathers on a 1/2-inch pipe. 2 rolls in color. So we're letting the pumpkin cool off before we knock it off. So that's probably two rolls in color in green. Getting it hot, going in the optic mold, let it stretch, press a little bit. If you press too hard, that mold will go all the way, the pipe will go all the way to the bottom. So connecting the stem right now, pull, and then that's a graphite stick. You can get it from like OCR. I think it's a Up Our Trophy graphite stick, and we're just using 1/2 to do the coils. Rolling the coils back on itself. Careful, that cutoff could be sharp, so sometimes you're gonna need a torch. And that's a basic pumpkin. And that's what it looked like the next day after it cools off.